With the red pieces in place, the square bases fit onto the white pieces. I just had to figure out where to place them. Bingo! I mean, checkmate.
Senor Stobart, look!
What is that? It's not the Holy Grail, is it?
No, Senor Stobart. It is the communion chalice of the De Vasconcelos, missing for almost 700 years.
Wow! Well, go on.
I cannot. I can hardly believe it is real.
Go ahead. Live a little.
Are you sure? This is your moment of triumph, Senor Stobart.
Sure, I'm sure. The possibility of death traps only occurred to me a few days later.
So the curse of the De Vasconcelos is lifted?
Oh no, the Countess was thrilled to find the lost chalice. But there's still the riddle of the missing knight.
Well, you can forget about that now and get back to finding the Templars' secret.
Actually, I promised the Countess I'd find Don Carlos.
You what?
I can explain everything.
You have got the odds for a withered old Spanish aristocrat?
The Countess entrusted me with the chalice and the quest for her ancestor's tomb.
You're as crazy as she is. Haven't you got enough problems? Khan and the Templars?
It's all part of the same thing. The chalice is important, I'm sure. The manuscript pointed us to the knight, and I have to find him.
What then?
I don't know. But when the knight and the chalice are reunited, maybe I will. Is there something going on between you and Labano?
What business is it of yours? We agreed all this. The clown, the Templars, strictly business, remember?
Yeah, but...
So get off my case.
This is the chalice I discovered in Spain.
I still can't figure out why the Countess gave it to you. After losing it for all those years, she simply gave it away to a total stranger? She's one prawn short of a paella.
The Countess is a fine lady. You shouldn't compare her with seafood.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's something going on between you and that Countess.
Are you serious? She's old enough to be my grandmother. I'd better get back to the quest. Hello again, Father.
Bonjour, monsieur. How pleasant to speak to you again.
I noticed that the stained-glass window on the left looks more modern than the middle one.
You have a keen eye, monsieur. The original window was destroyed in the last war. It was as old as the church, early 14th century.
Oh, man, that's awful.
Oui, a terrible loss. Still, the church and the other windows survived.
What do you make of this chalice?
It certainly looks very old.
About as old as this church, I think.
There seems to be an engraving on it.
Yeah? What does it say?
I do not know, it is very tarnished. With your permission, I could try polishing it. I promise I will be very careful.
That'd be very good of you.
This shouldn't take very long. Feel free to look around.
Okay, thanks. I didn't have time to sit around. A knight, there in the company of his fellows. Biblical references engraved into the tomb edge to guide his way to the next world. I guess. A stone knight lay in full stone armor, blank eyes looking at the ceiling. Carrying all that armor around must have been hard work. The priest was still busy with the chalice, so I decided to have another look around the church. On the end of the staff was some kind of disc with a cross on it. Around the base of the disc was a hairline crack. Well, I could have just taken the end off the staff, but I wanted to be sure what I'd be getting out of vandalizing a church, other than deported. The priest was... A stone knight lay at the end of a row of 4. I wondered if this guy had died in combat. In comparison to its neighbor, it looked pretty plain. A scroll was a symbol of scholarship. I knew that much. A scholarly knight. That rang a bell. A very Spanish bell. The priest was... I didn't have time to... The nose was... Hi again.
Oui? What is it this time?
I'd like to have another try at juggling, please.
You have gone on a crash course, perhaps?
No, I just had an insight into presentation.
Huh?
Allow me to demonstrate. The balls, please.
If you insist on completing your humiliation, monsieur.
Okay, now for my secret weapon. The juggler was speechless with rage. You could have mistaken him for a mime. And without a word, he collected his balls and left in a fury. Hey! You forgot one of your balls! Hey! But he didn't hear. Better still, deprived of his entertainment, the gendarme decided maybe he ought to do some policing for a change. If I wanted to... If the... The hook lay in a bed of chain. The wall had flaked, and anything once written on it had long since gone. The wall seemed in very poor condition. The inscription was undecipherable. The plaster had cracked and was falling away. I wondered why. It was time for some brutal destruction. Hey! That's hollow! I'd poked a hole in an historical site. If any archaeologists came by, they'd lynch me for this. There was some sort of mechanism hidden inside the wall, with a lever in the middle of it. Here goes. The secret door had jammed. I couldn't get through that gap.
In the beginning was the end.
An end wrought by our enemies began our darkness.
In the end will be a beginning.
An end to our enemies heralds our new day.
Report.
The military establishments are in flux. The end of the Cold War has left them with no clear goal and as obvious targets for budgetary cuts. We have successfully promoted a sense of betrayal in the upper echelons. They feel that the politicians have cast them adrift. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
Good. Mademoiselle?
Governments are giving the corporations more respect than their own citizens. A groundswell of dissatisfaction and dissidence is growing. The corporations are becoming too large and complex for their own executives to control them. A blind belief in market forces is accelerating this trend the world over. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
The global population's belief in those that govern it has never been lower. We have inculcated a sense of immediacy and action over forethought and planning in all the major governments. They are acting on hasty decisions that cannot be completed or revoked without appearing foolish. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
Excellent. The tired old governments are dying a slow death from their own incompetence and our machinations. Professor, where is the broken sword?
As we discussed last time, with the loss of the manuscript, our search is as a corollary hindered.
And as discussed last time, you have been furnished with a dramatically increased budget. What have you been doing with our money, Professor?
We are working on the principle that the Templars, that is to say our predecessors,
Hold on. These are the Templars?
must have left a trail when they were hiding the clues to the sword of Baphomet's location. I have a small army of historians and archaeologists ferreting out that trail.
I trust these historians and archaeologists are more trustworthy than your friend Pegram.
Pegram was loyal. He tried to protect the Lochmarn gem when the Hashashin came near.
And failed. And don't call that Syrian maniac the Hashashin. He's an assassin.
Plain and simple.
That's not what he believes. He actually thinks.
Silence! Do I have to remind you that we have a sacred duty? A trust? When Philippe attempted to destroy the Order, we lost the sword and our power with it. Now we have the opportunity to reforge it. But time is short. We need results. Not petty bickering. Not excuses. Now, Professor Baphomet.
Yes, of course. My apologies. We will find Baphomet and the sword, manuscript or no. We have already found another element actually within Paris.
Excellent. What is it?
Well, we're not exactly sure at present.
Ha!
But I have my best people working on it. You would do well not to criticize others, Eklund. At least I have not murdered one of our own.
Of course. That guy was the bogus doctor in the hospital.
Marquet was a liability. Eklund dealt with him on my orders.
I beg your pardon, Grandmaster. I did not mean to.
Have you any good news for us, Professor?
We already know 3 of the elements. We know that Klausner had obtained the lens before he vanished.
Where was he?
Syria. We know that he arrived, but after that, nothing.
The assassin!
I fear so. It's a shame. Klausner was a good operative.
This will be our last meeting in person until we locate the sword of Baphomet. I hope that I don't need to emphasize the importance of finding it. Without it, our endeavors come to nothing. With the sword reforged, we will have the power to sweep the stage of all opposition. The next time that we meet, it will be to become the princess of this world!
Wow!